My great-grandfather, Martin Gassner, was changed forever because a humble branch president answered the Savior's call. In Germany in 1909, times were tough and money was tight. Martin worked as a welder in a pipe manufacturing plant. By his own admission, most paydays ended in drinking, smoking, and buying rounds at the pub. His wife finally warned him that if he didn't change, she would leave. One day, Martin's coworker met him on the way to the pub with a crumpled religious booklet in his hand. He had found it on the street and told Martin that he felt something different after reading the pamphlet entitled, "Was wissen Sie von den Mormonen?" Or, "What do you know about the Mormons?" I'm certain that title has changed. An address stamped on the back was just legible enough to decipher where the church was located. It was a considerable distance away, but they were moved by what they read and decided to take the train that Sunday to investigate. When they arrived, they found that the address was not the church they expected, but a funeral home. Martin hesitated, because really, a church in a funeral home sounded a little too much like a package deal. But upstairs in a rented hall, they found a small group of saints. A man invited them to a testimony meeting. Martin was touched by the Spirit and so impressed by the simple, fervent testimonies that he bore his testimony. And it was there, in that most unlikely place, that he said he already knew it must be true. Afterward, the man introduced himself as the branch president and asked if they would return. Martin explained that he lived too far away and couldn't afford the weekly trip. The branch president simply said, "Follow me." They walked a few blocks to a nearby factory where the branch president's friend worked. After a short conversation, Martin and his friend were both offered jobs. Then, the branch president led them to an apartment building and secured housing for their families. All of this happened within 2 hours. Martin's family moved the following week. 6 months later, they were baptized. The man once known as a hopeless drunk became so ardent in his new faith that people in town began calling him, perhaps not so affectionately, the priest. As for the branch president, I cannot tell you his name. His identity has been lost to time, but I call him a disciple, ambassador, Christian, good Samaritan, and friend. His influence is still felt 116 years later, and I stand on the shoulders of his discipleship. There is a saying that you can count the seeds in an apple, but you can't count the apples that come from one seed. The seed planted by the branch president has produced countless fruit. Little would he have known that 48 years later, several generations of Martin's family on both sides of the veil would be sealed in the Bern, Switzerland temple. Perhaps the greatest sermons are the ones we never hear, but those we see in the quiet, unassuming actions and deeds observed in the lives of ordinary people who, trying to be like Jesus, go about doing good. What this gracious branch president did was not part of a checklist. He was simply living the gospel as described in the book of Alma. They did not send any away that were hungry, or that were athirst, or that were sick. They were liberal to all, both old and young, both male and female. And a point we should not overlook: they did not send away any, whether out of the church or in the church.